today we are on lesson 12, design process, grades and workflow. So basically what we'll be doing today is we'll be going through the entire design process, right? How from the moment like you get the how to collect the information from the client in case you're working with the client till when you deliver. That's what we're going to see today. And I'm also going to see how to set grades. How to set grades.
Great. What are great?
What?
What are great?
I will get to that. So understanding the outline for today is understanding a creative
Okay.
brief, research and ideation, sketching and wireframing, digital execution, what is crystal system, feedback and revisions, then final delivery and formats. Yes. And the objectives for today is by the end of the lesson, you should be able to learn the steps and concepts of final design, understand the importance of each phase, build confidence working with real clients or projects, understand the role of grids in layout, apply alignment rules, improve visual structure. So understanding the brief. So yeah, do you understand what we mean by brief? A brief is simply like what the client wants. That's what simply mean by brief. What the client wants. So somebody perhaps has contacted you and the person says you want a flyer or a
Yeah.
logo or a book design or whatever. So first of all, you have to understand the requirements, what the person wants exactly, and to understand that you have to ask questions. Ask questions not to clarify the client's goals, the audience who is this flyer for, and what's the expectation. So, for example, let's take an example. Mm, okay, let's take an example. Okay, you what? Maybe let's take an example. You're the client, for example. So, what flyer? Ask me that you want a flyer, for example. So, let me ask you a question.
I want a flyer.
Mm-hmm. Let's make a situation where okay, you're the client, right? I'm the designer.
Ah, okay. Mm. Okay, I'll need like I'm the client. I'll have to hire you as a designer to
Yes.
come and
Okay, so you meet me. You're like, okay, you want a design, right?
yes.
Yes. So I'm asking you, what's okay? You want the flyer, for example. Let's say the flyer. So, what's the flyer for? What's the flyer for?
The flyer is for my academy.
Okay, your academy. What do you teach in your academy? Is it
Correct.
is it a school or a training center?
A training center.
Okay, it's a training center where you teach offer courses on forex trading, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is this? What is the purpose of the flyer? Is it to advertise your courses, or are there any other services which you want to advertise with the flyer?
Mainly courses and maybe other services that we offer such as signals, groups and our community.
Okay, you want a flyer to be able to advertise your courses and your services.
Yes.
Okay,
And my community.
and your community. So
Yes.
basically, that's like three things, right? You have
Mm.
um no, basically that's three things you've said. You've said you want to advertise your services, you want to advertise your courses, your service as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
your courses in particular, and you want something to, and you also want to advertise your community, right?
Exactly.
So the
Yeah.
community can be part of the service section. So basically, it can be two flyers. One which is a specific flyer for your courses, and another which is be a general flyer which will advertise your business services, right? Those services includes the seniors, courses, community as a whole.
Yes.
So that's what we talk about by clarifying goals, right? And expectations. Because sometimes they have an idea of what they want, but the idea isn't really clear. So it's up to you to take that rough idea and polish it into something which they, because maybe in a client's mind it might be one flyer that will have all of this, have the
Yeah.
concept, community, everything. So that's now use now organize ideas and say, okay, this will be better placed in two flyers for better clarity, for better communication and stuff. You see.
Yeah.
So that's what we mean by understanding the brief, clarifying the goals, the expectations, identifying the key deliverables, right? The tone you can ask questions like, okay, who are the which what sort of people usually purchase your services, right? You can say maybe
Yeah.
students, uh, working professionals, or okay, you also clarify timeline. Timeline is when do you need this flyer?
Right.
So a person might need it in 1 hour time. So it's up to you now to check if you can design the flyer within 1 hour. If you cannot, then you can say, no, 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 I'll not be able to do this within an hour. It might take me maybe 2 hours to do it, something like that. So timeline is very important. So the next thing now you do after you've defined or clarified all of this is you go down to your research phase, right? Okay, client wants a forex flyer, forex flyer. So now what you can do now is study competitors, industry, and design styles. So you can now go on sites like you can go on social media sites, right? Like Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. Pinterest is one which I use in particular to get design inspiration, right? Design inspiration, see what competitors are doing. Other designers have designed for this type of industry. Well, how do they place the information? How do they communicate it? You see, and you can now collect some interesting designs which you saw which were interesting, right?
Yeah.
This collection is what we call a mood board. So I can come maybe on
Im-
Pinterest, for example, but download this one, this one, this one, right? So from this,
yeah.
the ones which maybe interest me, right? So from this now, I can combine ideas which I collect from all of these in order to create something of my own.
Collection. So it's like a collections of designs that you take inspiration from to now create your own design.
Yes, yes. That's what I mean by creating a mood board to visualize direction. So you analyze what other like businesses, right? Their flyers look like, what other designers have done for other businesses, right? In that same niche.
Yeah.
For example, forex, right? You can analyze and check. You can collect now some designs uh which caught your attention, right? So that process of collecting those designs now is the process of creating a mood board. And the reason why you're doing that is because you're trying to analyze them in order to get some information out of them, which we use and customize to design your own. Maybe it's the way they put their title, the way they put their body, the types of colors which they used, you see, the types of fonts which they use.
Yes.
It's always something which you can gain from analyzing what other people have done.
I have a question, please. From these designs here, how can you know the specific name of the fonts they have used?
Specific name. You might not be
Yeah.
able to know the specific name of the font they have used, but however,
Yeah.
you're seeing the style of the font.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're seeing the style of the font. So you can go and look for fonts which are of this same style.
Can you import one of this image into maybe Photoshop, then use the color picker tool to know which font it is?
Yes. No, not which font.
The,
Color picker tool is to know which color, not which
which
font.
color?
Yes.
But it also copies the font, I think. From
No,
one class you showed us.
that one is different. That one is a font which you yourself are using, not
Yeah.
something on an image.
Okay.
And that was on Illustrator. So meaning that was when you type something on Illustrator, right? The color picker tool can collect the font, but that's you typing it, not you bringing an image.
It's okay.
Are you getting the difference now?
Yeah, I get the difference.
However, you can there are some tools online, right, which you can use in order to get the font from an image. They are not always very accurate, but they can help sometimes.
Like,
I don't have anyone in head, but you can search them. Like getting fonts of images. Personally,
okay,
I don't really do that much.
let's go.
I just find a font which is of the same type, right?
Okay. So
Okay.
you just let's go through your own process. You just see the design and the font and just try to get a font that will replicate that font, that type of font
Exactly.
like so.
Right.
Yeah.
We spoke about different types of font, right? So
Yeah.
when I'm looking at the font, for example, I'm looking at this one. I know this is a sans serif, right? I could go and look for other sans serif fonts. Not necessarily this one, but something another sans serif which might fit in what I want to try and do.
Yeah.
But you say it's a serif font, right? I can go through other different serif fonts and look if I can find one which fits what I want to do, right? This one here is a script font. This is script font right here. This one is a kind of a mixture of a serif and display. So I give you sites, right, which you can get fonts from.
Fonts from just
I gave
that
like
fonts, Google
I gave
fonts,
like 10 of them.
the fonts, one fonts. Yeah. I'll visit them and try to download them in.
Okay, let's take like a practical example, right? Let's just I'm looking for a font, maybe like this one. For example, like this one here. Let me go on that font, for example. You can go maybe on serif fonts, serif fonts, and explore like different serif fonts I'm seeing. So let me type text here. Oh, did I? Create and submit. So now I can start going through now and seeing see if there's anyone that matches what I'm trying to do. How was that one again? You see, look at this one now. Look, you see, we're looking for this one, right? This one we're doing, this one. And look at this cure here, right? So when you go on the phone, look at this font. This looks like it.
Like,
So you understand now, I can now download it and install. This is a name, Ivigia. Can now download and install it and use on my design.
when I'm trying to go to that font, it's taking me go to another site.
Are you
That
sure you're
font
writing this exact same thing here? Dafont, DAFONT.com.
.com. I think it's the .com because I'm going to that font free dot io.
So you're going to the
Let
wrong
me go
site.
to. Yeah. Let me see.
So yeah, basically that is that. So let's continue. So now the next process now is once you've identified like some uh, design styles, inspiration, fonts, right, colors,
Yeah.
you gather them together in your mood boards. You can now go now into the sketching and conception process, right? So you can
Yeah.
start now with rough sketches or layout wireframes. You can do this either on a pen and paper or you can do it straight on Photoshop or Illustrator, depending on which one you're more comfortable. Some people prefer to do it on paper first, right? To
First.
get like a general idea of how the rough sketch will look like before moving
Yeah.
into Photoshop or Illustrator. Some people go straight into Photoshop or Illustrator. So now it now depends on which one you feel more comfortable with. So you can start by doing a rough sketch. The rough sketch is about determining how it's like you have the idea in your mind, right? You have the idea in your mind. However, to get a clear picture of the idea, you have to represent it somehow. Present it somehow. So you're like, okay, I'm going to try and put the image like this or like that. So, so for example, so you have like a design idea right in your mind, but that idea is not yet complete. It's not yet perfect. So you put things together. You avoid like colors. So just straight out text. For example, okay, yeah, we'll move this color. So you try to put out text without colors. So for example, text without colors, shapes without colors, just text, just put image without any effect on it. Just put your logo, try to see how everything together looks like. You see. Then after you do that now, you can now go into adding colors to see how now it looks like with colors. Repositioning elements, testing different layouts. But the first like wireframe, right? You can forget about colors, forget about having the perfect background. It's all about just placing all your elements on the screen, right?
Yeah.
And try to see how they look together. Before now, fixing things now, fixing colors, maybe adding effects to your images, maybe adding effects to your layout, tweaking your layout a little bit to make it look more nice, stuff like that. So a wireframe is a rough sketch, right? Just a rough sketch of the layout. That's what a wireframe is. Wireframe simply tells you, okay, here I'm going to put an image, here I'm going to put a title, here I'm going to put a call to action, I'm going to put a footer here. That's what the wireframe tells you. Then from that now, you now actually now add the image, add the colors, and see how the final design looks like.
Like,
So you understand what wireframes are all about. I can show you an example, a concrete example of a wireframe. You can go
yeah,
here on
I,
Pinterest.
I understand. Like you just put everything to see where how the design might look like before you start now adding the colors and the rest.
Mhm.
I think I've always from the designs that I've made that I've seen, I've always tried to always been I've always wanted to like put everything before I start now arranging the colors and everything. I think that's what slowed me down in the design.
So these are examples of wireframes, right? These are for websites. You see that
But
here, it's just boxes, right? Just boxes. And this line say shows that okay, there's going to be some text here. Here, there's going to be some text here. There's going to be a rectangle here. There's going to be an image here. There's going to be some text here. You see, that's what a wireframe tells you. Wireframe helps you organize your layout, right? Organize your layout even before you actually put all the elements together. You see, in this case here, they've put the text titles, but they've not really put images where yes, they've not put any colors, no images, but they've put sections which represents where images are going to be, where titles are going to be, where subtopics are going to be. So the same process actually when it concerns flyers.
It does it mean that each design you create has its own wireframe?
The wireframe is for you to arrange your idea, right? Arrange
Yeah.
your idea. So your idea is not perfectly clear in your mind, right? You've gone through different uh, designs from your mood board, so you have some idea of what you want to do, right? But unless you actually practically do it, you won't be able to have a clear vision of it. You understand me?
Mm-hmm. But this can be done on paper, right? Must not necessarily.
Yes, so that this can be done on paper. As I said this from the start, it can be done on paper. It can also be done straight into Illustrator, Photoshop. It now depends on you, right? Which workflow you prefer. Some people prefer sketching on paper first before now going to Illustrator. Some people do your sketch on Illustrator directly and then arranging it from there. So that rough sketch is what we call the wireframe. From there now, you keep fixing your design until you reach a point where you tell yourself, okay, this is perfect. So start with rough sketches or layout wireframes. Explore multiple ideas quickly before digitizing. So this helps you to like to explore different layout, right? Layout ideas without the extra confusion which elements like colors and effects bring in.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're just worrying about layout. Just worrying about
Yeah.
layout. So
Yeah.
you figured out your layout, you can now start worrying about color. You figured out your color, you can start worrying now about effects, adding effects. So design execution. So you've sketched your design, how it's going to look like, you can now move into Photoshop or Illustrator. This works for anything, whether it's logos or flyers or books, whatever you're designing, even for animations. So you can now move on to Photoshop or Illustrator. And we've spoken about design principles already. So you follow your design principles, apply your grid and your plot theory. The only thing I've not spoken about is grid. So we're going to speak about grid now. Work in layers and label files clearly. We've spoken about this already. So when you come into Illustrator, just to apply now your design principles, which we've already spoken about. But the thing we didn't speak about is grid systems. What is a grid system? A grid system is a series of intersecting lines used to structure content. It helps align elements, maintain consistency, and improve readability. Do you know what a grid is?
No.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Okay, we're there already. So this here is a grid. This is a grid. And what did we say about grids? We said series of intersecting lines used to structure content. It helps align elements, maintain consistency, and improve readability.
Ability.
So these lines here now helps what align elements in the design, right, and maintain consistency. This is also a grid. These are grids. So grid controls layout basically.
Does it now mean that each when we're designing we should try to put a grid?
It is good practice. So we're going to see how to add a grid in Photoshop. So this is a grid, right? This is a grid. It's our grids. So for example, in class, when you was in class, how do you sit? You sit in rows and columns, right? Grids are simply rows and columns. So this is a 2-column grid here. This is a 3-column grid, a 4-column grid. See, this one has how many? This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 rows. 4-column and 6 rows grid. So they help control how elements are being aligned. And there are different types and variations, right? These are just simple grids. These are simple grids. There are different types and variations. But what we're talking about here specifically is simple grid. Simple grid to align your content. So you can go on Photoshop, for example. The next slide is types of grids. I've already showed you types of grids there. We have column grids. Column grids are used in magazines and brochures. See, magazines and brochures usually have like 2 columns, right?
Yeah.
Yes, 2 columns. So this is the column grid used in magazines and brochures. We have modular grids for complex layout like dashboards. This, for example, here. This here, for example, are modular grids. See this one here. It's a modular grid. So it doesn't have a fixed number of rows and columns. I can also say this one has maybe 2 columns and 3 rows, right? Because these rows here are halved. You see, it's not a complete row. So they are modular
Mm-hmm.
grids. So all modular grids. So this here, for example, this screen itself here is a modular grid. You start here, we have a column here, we have a column here, column here, column here. See, this now there's a row here, but there's no complete row this way. This is one box, one box, one box, one box, one box, one box, but it's not like an entire row on itself. So it's a modular grid which adapts based on its content. We have manuscript grids which are used in books or text heavy layouts. Manuscript is like, you see, you have one like on Word documents, right? On Word document, the text occupies the entire page, goes down. Baseline grids align text across columns. So this is actually this one here is important if you're designing maybe something for designing a magazine, designing a book, for example. So this knowledge here is important on grid systems, on types of grid. Alignment. Did we skip something? Go to grid types of grid. Alignment in practice. Good alignment. Alignment helps guide the viewer's eye. We said grids are good for alignment. So why alignment? Because alignment helps guide the viewer's eye. We spoke about visual hierarchy before, right? Visual hierarchy.
Yes.
Visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy goes along with alignment. Visual hierarchy goes along with alignment. So you position your contents to have a certain flow. And alignment also matters in how this flow works.
Yo, I don't know. One of us, our connection is not stable. It's going and coming.
When I'm talking, my voice is breaking.
Like your screen has disappeared. It's now that
I
it has
think
come
it's
back.
on right now. It has come
Yes,
back.
it has come back. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good alignment.
Please, can you go back to grid? During
Yes,
that
yes,
part, they
yes.
explain. Voila, yeah, on this page. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Modular grid. Can you explain back baseline grid? Baseline grid. I think that time the connection was stable.
Baseline grid. Spoke about alignment already.
Hmm?
Baseline grids align
Yes.
elements across columns, right? So you have maybe this is a column, for example, right? Maybe this is a column here. Let's just say
Yeah.
this is one column here and it's another column here, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Said baseline align text across the column. So this text here, I could have put this first line here, this other second line, maybe starting from this middle here, this one here, starting here, and this other text starting maybe at this from this corner here. All of them would be in the same column, but there won't really be an alignment process in them, right? So it now feels as though they were like a zigzag column. Okay, or let me just show it maybe in a way that is more clearly visible. Let's consider this page as one single column, and then maybe we'll have this box here, maybe this, let's reduce the size, it's too big. Have this box here, or maybe this box that is in this position like this one is in this position here, this one is here like this. So baseline, right, it means that what the elements which are supposed to be in one column, right, should all be at on one line. Do you understand? Do you understand? Are you still there? Okay, connection cut. Seems connection cut. Are you getting me now? Are you getting me now? Oh, your mic is off. Your mic is off.
Yes, yes, I'm getting you now.
Okay. What was the last thing you heard me saying? Let me know where I stopped.
You were talking about that all elements in a straight line have to be aligned.
Yes. So were you there when I opened Illustrator?
Yeah. No, no, I think I just came and saw that you had to open the
Okay.
illustrator.
What I was saying is this is one column, for example, right? It's one column.
Yes.
So in the same column, I can have my elements in this manner, right? Right. They are all in this column, right? What does baseline grid says? Baseline grid says that all the elements which are supposed to be in one column are supposed to have a certain alignment pattern in them. So now this represents what they're now aligned on this base here. This is the base, right? Do you understand what I mean by baseline grid?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So elements in a single column should have a certain alignment in them. So they could be aligned maybe to the right, for example, or maybe aligned center, but they can't just be scattered, right? Just like when you sit in a classroom, the benches in a classroom, you don't benches are always aligned in a straight line in the classroom in secondary school, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. You don't have a bench like this, another bench like this, another bench like this, like everybody just in its own position. It doesn't look very organized. That's simply what we're saying. So basically, you've been applying design ever since without knowing you're applying designing principles.
Okay.
So alignment in practice, good alignment helps guide the viewer's eye, reduces visual cluster, makes layout feel intentional and polished. So it's importance of alignment. Grid helps in alignment, and alignment is good for what? To help guide the viewer's eye, reduces visual cluster, and makes layout feel intentional and polished. Basically, it makes things look better. In short, in one line. So now, how do you actually create a grid in Photoshop or Illustrator? Is where we're at now. So for this, you go to your Photoshop, for example, to your Photoshop, and you go to View. So you come here on View, Photoshop. You go down to Guides. Here, to go to Guides, and click on New Guide. Is it Guide? No, wait, I made a mistake. Go to View, Guide, New Guide Layout. Yes, New Guide Layout rather. Go to New Guide Layout. View, Guides, select New Guides Layout. This New Guide Layout. Set up preset custom color cyan. This is the color of the lines, right? Cyan. Set the number of columns. The number of columns here 1, 2, 3. So of 3 columns. Number of rows 1, 2, 3. You can now set the margin. The margin is the distance from the edge of this file here to the line. So the margin here was set to what? 20 pixels, right? So you can increase this margin. For example, be 40, 40, 40, 40. So now this will now help me. When I'm done, I press OK. This will now help me structure my content very well. Remember, I told you when you're designing, avoid putting your text, right? Your text right at the edge. Your text right at the edge of the document. So this grid line here can help me better position my text, for example. Better position my text. And also important to put important information, right, at intersection points. Intersection points. So design tip. So grid here helps you what? Position elements. Also helps you what? Align elements. There are two main importance of grid: position, alignment, for visual clarity. And I told you this many times. I see some of you still do designs and still do this error. Always add margin here in your designs for your text. An image can cross like this, no problem. But for text, there should always be margin at the bottom here for your text. Your text shouldn't be right at the edge like this. Shouldn't be right at the edge. Or maybe right at the edge like this. Or you'll be putting maybe your contact information, and then you put in maybe your contact info, and then you come and put your contact info right at the edge like this. It's not right. There should be some margin between your contact info and the edge of your document. So that's an important tip for all designers, whether you're designing for social media, for print, whatever. So that's how we add a grid in Photoshop. You can customize the grid as well to include a lot more rows and columns if you wish, but the basis is the three grid column. Three grid column.
Can you set it back?
I said you go to view, click on view,
Yes.
go down to guides and select new guide layout.
Yeah, yeah.
New guide layout. This appears. Number of columns 3, number of rows 3, margin top, left, bottom, and right. And then you press on OK. You have your guide which is being formed here. This guide, you can also modify the position of the lines, right, by clicking and dragging and dropping. So I can try to maybe increase this and put it here, for example. If you want to remove the guide, you simply go on show here, guides, click on it, it removes it. On Illustrator, you can also do that on Illustrator. You can do that on Illustrator by same thing. You go to view, then you go to this is show grid here. Click on show grid. This is the grid that appears like this. Another way you can add a grid, you can also add a custom grid by using this tool here, the rectangular grid tool. If you don't see the rectangular grid tool here on Illustrator, click on this three buttons here, edit toolbar, click on edit toolbar, it will be here. If I didn't tell you this before, Illustrator is not limited to the tools which you just see here. If you click on these three buttons here, there are other tools, a lot of other tools here which you can use. You can even plot graphs here. See, bar graph, stack bar graph, line graph. So you can plot graph, pie graph tool. So a lot of other tools, perspective tool, area tool. So you can explore all these tools as well.
Yeah.
A lot of other tools. If you want to use a tool, you can simply let me take an example of which tool. Stack column curve tool. I can simply take it and drag it and come and put it here. Right. So when I close this one, I can now make use of my tool. Add the values and stuff. When I finish adding values, press OK, and then my graph will be drawn. So a lot of other tools which we did not see, but you can explore them. To remove the grid, so we can also add grid by using what the rectangular grid tool. You can click on the rectangular grid tool and come like this. Click and drag like this. This is another way of adding a grid. It's a custom grid. And using the custom grid, oh wait. When you draw the grid, right, you also have to add the color on the outline. So I'll click on the stroke here twice and then add color. I can add a cyan color as well. So that is it. This is my grid. I can also use my direct selection tool and modify any parts, right? Maybe I can drag this one up again like this, or track this one down. So basically that's the grid tool. It says for alignment.
When you're finished with the design, you remove the grid tool before
So
exporting.
the grid is not part of your design, right? The grid is only there to help you in alignment. If you can align without your grid, then okay, you can go ahead. The more you do something, the more it becomes like just natural to you. Like I can design very well without using the grid because it has become a natural system. So let's to remove the grid is simple. Simply go to view here and I click on hide grid. Disappears. Disappears. Because Illustrator and Photoshop already have inbuilt tools to help you in your alignment, right? So for example, when I'm moving this thing, see this pink line that appears, helping me to align it with other elements. And another thing is if I highlight all of them, I can use the alignment tool in order to align them, maybe left, middle, right, you see. But it's still important because if you're designing something like a multi-page document, right? A multi-page document, let's say 20-page document, and you want the alignment to be consistent across 20 pages, it might be difficult to do that by using just the alignment tool. That means each time you will have to come and highlight the elements, align wherever. Whereas if you have your grid already established, and that okay, this is the line. For example, okay, this is the line where my content should stop. So no matter which page I am on, I always know that my content has to end on this line like this. You see, right? So when you're designing on multi-page documents, it's very critical to have a grid to keep consistency across the pages, so that one page should not have like a large margin and another page a very small margin. It doesn't look very consistent. So you've entered Photoshop, you've added your grid, you've done you did your wireframe, your sketch. Now you came to Photoshop or Illustrator to design it. You added your grid, follow the design principle, started to design, right? Until you've completed your design. We've already gone through design principles for color, typography, hierarchy, and the rest. So we don't want to go over that again. So now, at the point where your design is finished now, you have to present it to your client for feedback and review. It could be not for you. Ultimately, it's either for your viewers or for your client, or for your client's viewers. So you present designs professionally with mock-ups if possible. If possible. So mock-ups are good for presentation, right? So let's just say this is design I made, for example, right, for Leke Tech, right? When I want to post, this is what I will post. But for presentation's sake, right, for my portfolio, I can do this. But this is not what I am actually going to post when I actually want to use the flyer. Mockups are just for presentation purposes. Do you understand? So I can post this on my portfolio, right? Or as a showcase, portfolio
Uh,
or showcase. But I will not post this one here, the mockup, on to my actual viewers, to whom I actually want to sell this service on the flyer. You understand?
no, come
I said
again.
mock-up. This is a mock-up here, right? This is a mock-up. This is a flyer here. This is the mock-up.
The one behind.
Yes. Mock-ups are simply how the
Mm-hmm.
design will look in different scenarios, right? a
Yeah.
digital representation of how your design will look on different scenarios. This like in the case of a Facebook post, right?
Yes.
Yes. So now mockups are for presentation purposes. They are not for actual use. They are for presentation purpose. So for example, I can use do a mockup and post it on my portfolio, right, as a showcase because this design was for me, for example. In the case of design for in the case of a design for a client, right, the client will not post this mockup. The mockup, I will post the mockup, for example, on my socials, right, for presentation purpose, right. But however, this here is what I will send to the client. This one here that he's going to post. I can send this one to him just for presentation purposes, but this is the one which he is going to post. This is the one he's going to post. So mockups are for
So
presentation purpose.
yeah, I've been seeing mock-ups when I always finish my flyer on. Whenever I finish my flyer, maybe on Photoshop, they always ask me to present with mock-ups. I've never understood why. How do you make those mock-ups?
Who says present to mockups? Photoshop asks you to present to mockups.
Yeah, it shows me when you have completed a design. It shows me like a tool mock-ups
I don't really understand.
or view with mock-ups, something like that on
View
Photoshop.
with mockups. Can you show me what you're saying?
I don't really, when I'll see it again,
Okay,
I'll
when you
try and
see it
show
again,
you.
you can screenshot and share.
Yeah.
So you've
How
done
are
your
the mock-ups now created?
we'll look at that. We'll look at how mockups are being created. So you've done your design, this is your design here. Now sent it to the client, right? You can send it through WhatsApp, for example, for the client to look at it and review it. So welcome constructive feedback because do not expect your flyer, no matter how good you think it is going to be automatically accepted. Most often it will not because your own idea and the client's idea might be two complete different things. But in the end, you have to know this, you are the designer, the client is not. So the client might want something which is not actually good for him. So you will tell the client that okay, this actually that you want isn't the best option. But if the client insists on it, then you can say okay, we're going to do as you want. But it is your duty to tell him what is good and what is not good. Then let him better choose the one which is not good after knowing that. So welcome constructive feedback. Means you can do your design no matter how good you think it is, and you present it,
Okay.
and the client will say, nah, this is not what I want. I want this to be changed. I want this to be changed. If his demands do not respect design principles, you advise him, okay, from a professional point of view, I do not think this is going to enhance your design because of so and so reason. This is better for so and so reason. However, if this is what you want, then you can go with that one. You understand?
Yeah.
And an important factor is always save. If you're using Photoshop, save a PSD version of your design. If you're using Illustrator, save an Adobe Illustrator version of your design so that you can always come back and edit it. Is that clear?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. In your final delivery now, once you've done the revisions and everything has been finalized, you will now export the correct format. So for example, if it's for printing, you export as PDF if it's to go and print. If it's for screens, you can export as PNG or JPEG if it's for screens. You save your file as an Adobe Illustrator file if you're using Illustrator or as a PSD if you're using Photoshop. So you can come and edit them again later. So for example, if you're designing a logo, right? You would include the color profiles, the font you use, mockups if needed. This depends on what you're designing for, right? It's not for everything that you just do mockups. Nobody does mockups of flyers. If you're doing mockup, then it is for you to present on your portfolio as showcase. You don't really do mockups of flyers for clients.
Okay.
What you really do mockups for are for things like books, things like logos, books, t-shirts. These are the kind of things that we do mockups for. Deliver via Google Drive or Cloud Link. The reason why I recommend Google Drive is to prevent loss of quality. Right? So Google Drive. Or if you want to deliver through WhatsApp, then send the image as a document. If you want to deliver through WhatsApp, send as a document. So you should not compress it, right? When you send as a document, your image will not be compressed, so you will not lose quality. So if you send through WhatsApp, send as a document so it does not lose quality. If not, you can use Google Drive or Telegram as well to deliver the final work. Okay, let's into the discussion. Discussion session. The first question is, which step of the workflow do you find most challenging and why? Which step of the workflow do you find most challenging and why?
I think it is, for me, I'll say it is the layout.
Getting the right layout, right?
Layout.
Mm. Okay,
Yes,
figuring
the
out the
right
right
layout.
layout you're going to use, right? How you're going to
Some,
put the elements together in your design.
yeah. Sometimes you have so many ideas of how you want to put it on the canvas, but the final product is not always like what you had in mind. But all that
You
process
look at it and you're
sometimes
like,
is,
now this is not exactly what I wanted to do. It's not snip and cosa.
yes,
Yes, layout can be very tricky, tricky. Usually the time you actually take thinking about how you're going to design it is actually usually more than actually the time you actually take actually designing.
exactly. Because once you know the layout, it's just to assemble the other elements, the color, the text, the shapes, every other thing
However,
together.
another tricky part is color. If you don't have already a set color scheme, right? I'm just
Yeah,
hypothetical. You have designing with for a company that already has its color scheme or its branding colors. It's easy because you already know which colors to use.
to
You already know, okay, I'm going to use the blue and the black, or the blue and the white, for example, or blue and red. You know the colors. Now it becomes difficult when there are no color schemes and you're the one who has to come up with a color palette. So now, after figuring out how am I going to put the elements together, the second question comes in: which colors am I going to use? How am I going to match these colors together? And selecting images can also be a tricky part. So this in this session, right, we did the general workflow from when you meet the client to we deliver. Now in the next part, right, what we're going to do is the design workflow. That means the moment where you start designing to the moment where you end designing. So that is it, part two of the design workflow.
okay.
From the moment you start designing. So you have discussed with the client already, people have arranged, agreed on everything, right? So now it's time for you to start designing. How do you start? That's what we're going to do next class. And we're also going to see how to include AI in your design workflow. How to include AI in your design workflow. So next class is a must be there class. It's a must be there class. And at the end of the next class, I'm also going to tell you how your final project is going to look like, what you're going to do exactly, because you'll be presenting that project next week, Friday. So you have like
So
a
we
week.
have only a week.
Yes, only up to a week. You have up to a week.
Okay.
Basically, if you had been following the course up till now, right, you won't have any problem. If you've been following the course up till now, then you should have already designed the logo. You should have already designed a flyer.
Yes.
Yeah. So what you would have been doing now is maybe optimizing the logo for it to look better, optimizing the flyer based on latest design principles which you've come up, which you've explained again. You see. However, if you had not been following the practice exercises, that's when you'll be doing things from scratch.
Okay.
The second question is, how does planning improve your design process?
Out of planning.
How does planning improve your design process?
It makes it mechanical. So there are certain steps you follow. Once you're done, you move to the next one and you come out with the design. Than just having to think it from scratch, like do start in the middle and maybe finish at the end.
Yeah, planning helps you uh, simplify the process. Planning helps you simplify the process. If you already have a set plan in mind, then you already know which actions to take at each step of the way. So you know, okay, you know what to do basically. And knowing what to do helps you save time. Knowing what to do. So planning helps you save time basically. Improve your design process by helping you to save time, by helping you to organize your ideas better. Because for example, you have gotten a brief, for example. Planning says that what I'm supposed to understand this brief first. To understand this brief, I need to ask the right question. So you know exactly what to do now. You finish asking the right questions, you understood the brief. What does planning say? Planning says the next step is I have to start uh, gathering ideas. So I go on Pinterest, I go on Facebook, Instagram, and start gathering ideas. So what does my next thing say? What's my next action from my plan? That I should start doing a sketch, right? A sketch or a wireframe. So I start doing that. So now I know what to do at each step to help me save time and organize my ideas. So why is client feedback?
Save.
Yes.
I
The
think
last question is, hmm?
saving time is very important.
Yes, save time is very important because after getting the brief, for example, maybe you didn't have this workflow. You decided to go directly on Photoshop and start designing. You went to Photoshop, you've stayed there for like 1 hour, you don't know what to do, you're stuck. You're like, how am I going to do this thing? You have put text, you put images, but it's not really going. You've just wasted 2 hours. Whereas if you are taking 30 minutes first to go and gather ideas, it would have taken you maybe just 30 minutes again to figure out the layout. So, last question. Why is client feedback critical to a successful project?
First of all, they always say the client is king. So if the client is happy, you are showing you to other clients.
Ultimately, the design is not for you, it's for the client.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, it's not for you, it's for the client. So, if the client is not happy with the work, then basically you've not done your work. And satisfied clients are what? Are returning clients. So if client comes to you, is satisfied with the work, he will come back next time. Next time he needs something. So client feedback is critical to successful project because uh, it's critical. As I was saying, client feedback is critical because it helps you fix the design, right? Correct errors, arrange, review and correct errors, maybe, and fix one or two things on the design. However, as I said, clients may propose an idea which does not follow design principles. So, as a designer, you ought to warn them about that. However, the client insists, then okay, you do as the client wants. Then, in that case, usually in that case, then you won't be posting that design on your portfolio because you're like, this is going to not really portray my skills. Because when another person sees your portfolio, it's not going to care that this is what they desired, this is what the client wanted. Just going to look at it and like, hmm, this is not the quality I expected. So if you fall into a client which who does not recognize a better design when he sees one, and you can give him what he wants, but you will not include that one on your portfolio. So we have reached the end of today's session. We've reached the end of today's session. So thank you all for joining. This is already the end, towards going towards the end of the fifth week, and we are almost done. Almost. We just have a few details to wrap up with because all the main information has been given already. At this point, you have been given all the necessary information you need to become a professional graphic designer. What you now lack is experience, practice. There's anything you lack now. And to get that, you have to design more and more. Right now, all we're just doing is tweaking some settings, right? Giving tips. The more you design, the better you get, better you get at it. Explore the works of other designers and try to improve your work as well.
Yeah.
And another important advice is when somebody asks you, can you, before the person finish the sentence, your reply should be yes.
Please.
When somebody asks you, can you? Before the person finish his sentence, your reply should be yes. For example, can you design a logo? Yes, I can design a logo. Can you design a yes, I can design a logo.
Why?
Then when he says that, after you have accepted, now go and do your research on how to actually do it. Yes. You learn by doing. I